And a very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. It is the 25th day, 25th day of November. You know what that means? 1 month away from Christmas. Yes, sir. Can you believe it? We're about to be singing Merry Christmas to you and all that stuff again. Hey, folks, a very good morning again, and thank you so much for joining us for today's edition of Sundays with George Grant. I see here on the shout box that Jaban is saying it's a mild, misty morning in his area. Now, we all know that's in Orlando, in Florida, and he's looking forward to a great program today. Well, let me tell you, Jaban, it's such another beautiful, beautiful morning here in St. George, Grenada. And how blessed we are, how blessed we are, because a little later on you're going to find out that other parts of the world, you're going to find out that just a little north of you, actually, somebody's under the covers this morning. Can you believe that? Yes. Folks, today is going to be a very interesting day for us. We do have a very, very interesting program lined up for you. But before I get started, just let me say to you, I hate to do this, but keep your eye, those of you who are on the GRENADABROADCAST.com website, keep your eyes on things, okay? Despite the promises that were made to me, which I conveyed to you, we still do not have our internet issue resolved, okay? I am seeing here already, I mean, we're only, 2 minutes into the program, and I'm seeing already that we are having some hassles. But I do urge you, if you look at the site carefully, especially you go to the page where today's rundown is, and you'll see several platforms where if you're having difficulty difficulty watching on Facebook or on the GRENADABROADCAST.com website, please go to one of the other links. You've got Radio Genre, you've got TuneIn, and you've got Radio Garden. You're not going to be able to see us there, but you'll be able to hear everything, okay? So please do that for us. Let's get right into today's rundown. We begin with the buzz, Holy Scriptures, and we do have some feedback for you, a lot of feedback. And then we get into the editorials. The first editorial is the new today. We're going to skip the Grenada Advocate, but the new today is captioned, Time to Go Home. Find out who has to go home in just a wee bit. And the Grenadian Voice is captioned, Will this impasse end in the courts? They're referring to that big issue we have on our hands here in Grenada, the industrial action, which is about to be escalated this coming week, okay? And as a result, the entire, most of the program this morning focuses on that issue. We have two features for you. The first one is captioned, obviously, Industrial Action About to Be Escalated. And you're going to be hearing at least three voices. That Mr. Lydon Lewis, who is the President General of the Grenada Union of Teachers. Lydon is going to be sitting right here with me a little later on this morning. Rachael Roberts, who is the president of the Public Workers Union. And she issued a statement a couple of days ago, I think it was on Friday, and thanks to the Grenada Broadcasting Network, GBN, we're going to run that by you a bit later on this morning. And we're also going to be hearing another statement, this time from the president of the Technical and Allied Workers Union, A gentleman by the name of Senator Andre Lewis. Okay? So that's our first feature, which will probably take up most of the morning. Then, as many of you know, the 2019 budget was presented in Parliament this past week. Now, that ran a little over 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken. And so we're not going to be able to bring you all of that this morning. However, we're going to bring you the bare facts. A summary of the 2019 budget as presented by Dr. Keith Mitchell, Minister of Finance, and obviously the Prime Minister as well. Okay? So, while the list may seem short, there's a lot going on here this morning, which is going to keep us pretty darn preoccupied. All right? So, if you find me scooting along this morning, it's because I really don't want to waste too much time. I want to give everybody a chance to get their 2 cents in. Just let me quickly say hi to the folks on the shout box, though. Well, I told you about Jabon already and his misty morning in Orlando. I see that we're also joined by Mr. Peter Bishop. He's saying good morning, all from Long Island, New York. But it's kind of cold out there, too. I'm sure when we hear from Margaret, she's going to be saying, yeah, I'm shivering in New York this morning. Kipling Francis says, good morning to everybody, and he's sending God's blessings to all. And obviously, he starts with a little footnote, if you will, to his good morning. He says, hypocrisy, biasness, favoritism, and loss of memories are slowly destroying the nation. The same action that turns one man into a hero turned one man into a hero years ago. Today, those who are taking that same action are called the devil now. Okay, Kipling. Then we move on to Anthea. See, Kipling's in New York. We're moving slowly south now. Anthea says, good morning, George and all. I'm under covers on this cold and foggy morning here in Decatur. That's what I was talking about, Jimmy. She's in Decatur, Georgia, just north of you out there in Florida. She says, but she's tuned in and ready for her weekly fix. Good to have you, young lady. Thanks for joining us. As we scroll down there, oh, by the way, I just about forgot to turn on Facebook there. Anyhow, so as we scroll down on the Rumble chat, hey, Jackie. Jackie's saying good morning, all. OP says, good morning, George and class, and a pleasant week to all. I realize there's great heat in the kitchen, and so many of the chefs are missing. I wonder why. Tessa says, good morning, George, and good morning all. Wishing a blessed Sunday and a great week ahead. Locked on and listening. Well, it's good to have you there, Tessa. And even as we speak, I see a little notification here that we have now been joined on the chat box by MSF in the Big Apple. All right? Then we turn over here to Facebook. Let's see who day this morning so far. Coylan Nash is saying, good morning, Mr. George. I'm listening this morning. Glad to know that, Coylan. And Lydia James is saying, good morning to you, George, and Grenada. Nice to have all of you folks on board this morning. Turn back here, ha, 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 ha. MSF, she's just said to Anthea on the box, Anthea, me too. Anthea said a little while ago she's under the covers. Well, so is MSF this morning. She says she's under the blanket. Okay. Nice to have you folks here. And again, remember, Grenada is here. Nice and warm. So warm, let me tell you, there's a huge cruise ship pulled in here just before 8 o'clock this morning. And the folks on board look like they're in for a pretty good day, weather-wise. So, on that note, Georgie Porgy is going to take his first little break this morning, and we'll come on back and get started with today's edition of The Buzz.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and the 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
With free island-wide delivery, Hubbard's Building Supplies and Lumber Departments continue to provide the best quality lumber, steel, tiles, plumbing materials, electrical, and general hardware supplies at competitive prices. We continually consult with builders, homeowners, and contractors to improve product range and services. Enjoy discounts where applicable, including the use of credit and debit cards. At Hubbard's Building Supplies, Grandance, and Lumber Department, Caranage, we offer quality service, affordable prices, giving you the convenient, reliable, free island-wide delivery. Call 440-2087 for all your home improvement and building solutions.
Conveniently located in the Grand Anne Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grandance will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep,
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Okay, so it's now 14 and a half minutes after 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Let's get right into this week's edition of The Buzz. And as always, we begin with a reading from the Holy Scriptures. Therefore, oh, by the way, this comes to you from the second book of Corinthians, chapter 4, verses 16, 17, and 18. Therefore, we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So, we fix our eyes on what is seen. We fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 16 to 18. Now, as always, Georgie spends a lot of time monitoring Facebook, and I came across a comment here from somebody named Hugh, who says, as teachers and public sector workers, our concerns must not only be about today's children and the functionality of government ministries today, but more so, the quality and competence of persons we will be able to attract to the teaching profession and government ministries in the future, which will impact negatively on both our present and future generations. We need to look beyond today. How will these sectors be able to attract good, competent individuals in the future if they know that they will be retiring into poverty? Unfortunately, to correct today's problems, we will need to endure severe sacrifices, which our government has taught us to do over the years by the implementation of their austerity measures. The time has come for us to chart our own course and decide on our destiny. Over the years, our selfish politicians have secured their gratuity and pensions. The time has come for us to do likewise. There can be no compromise. So says you. Now, Little Angel. Thank you, Little Angel, for not deserting us this week. Nice to have you on board. Little Angel says, much has already been said and done about the impasse on gratuity and pension between the government of Grenada and public workers. The following are a number of statements which were made and questions which have emerged. First statement. Attempts were made by the government of Grenada to file an injunction against any strike which failed to recognize the law in order to protect health care. Question. Is the government of Grenada graced with a moral authority which will allow it to obtain a court ruling against anyone running afoul of the law? And since when has health care been protected by the Grenadian government? So there's your first question, your first statement, and the question arising out of that statement. Statement number 2. The Ministry of Health was concerned that the health care of ordinary Grenadians can be compromised by actions that are not legal under the labor statute. Knowing the length of time health care has been in jeopardy in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, and considering the plight of both healthcare workers and patients, the following questions arise. Can the Ministry of Health convince anyone that it is concerned about the health care of ordinary Grenadians? And can the government admit that it understands what is legal and what is not legal under any statute of law? Next statement. Opening Grenada's courts on a weekend is unheard of. Yet, it was possible that it was going to take place in order to hear the government's petition to file an injunction. This definitely demonstrated the will of a government and questions the will of its people. Here's the question coming out of that statement. How is it that the government was able to find the will to file an injunction against public workers on a weekend, but couldn't do so for hearings such as election petitions, which were never considered for the court on a weekend? How come The necessary resources, as well as the court, have been made so readily available to accommodate a petition by the Grenadian government, but not so readily available for ordinary Grenadians, who more often than not are forced to wait umpteen years for cases to be called, much less to be heard. Next statement. Gratuity is an advanced payment on pension, equivalent to and same as a salary advance. The provision of the 1958 Pension Act must be reformed as the state cannot finance the cost. This cost seriously breaches the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Any pension plan must have two basic features. It must be sustainable and affordable. Parliamentarians receive 20% gratuity every 4 years. Public workers are happy for them. The 20% gratuity was claimed to have been provided for in law. Questions. Should anyone who is struggling to get past a 2% promise of gratuity or pension be happy about a 20% for parliamentarians? Are parliamentarians benefiting from a law which they passed directly? Is this a just and equitable law? Will this law be reviewed and repealed in light of the Pension Act, which must be reformed? If the state cannot finance the cost of pension as currently exists in the Pension Act, can the state finance the 20% gratuity for parliamentarians? Is the law for the 20% gratuity a breach of the Fiscal Responsibility Act? Is it, let's see here, is the 20% gratuity sustainable and affordable? How is it that the state can provide a 20% advance on salary every 4 years for at least 15 parliamentarians, but cannot afford a pension more than 2% for public workers? Next statement. During this past week, while presenting the 2019 budget, the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance reiterated on a number of occasions that the present government was good to public workers, and the listening audience displayed support for what he said. Questions. Was that audience aware that this government has been in office more often than any other, and obviously was given the opportunity to be good to public workers more often than anyone else? If this government has been so good to public workers in the past, what about now? Wouldn't it be prudent to be good for yet another time when legacy is at stake? Any fair-minded and honest Grenadian who is attuned to basic human rights, equality, and justice for all will find the foregoing questions valid and deserving of valid answers. The Grenada pension and gratuity impasse can be summed up in one sentence: the will of the people is definitely different to the will of its government. This is unfortunate, since the government seems to lack an understanding of its role and commitment to its people, who, on the other hand, have demonstrated an awareness of their role and their rights. Let Grenadians talk and act honestly, fearlessly, and with good intentions. Justice and equality must prevail for the good of everyone in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. That's the weekly contribution made to our program by Little Angel. Spent a lot of time thinking about that one, obviously. Thank you very much, Little Angel. 27 and a half minutes after the hour. My first guest should be here at 10 o'clock this morning. That's Mr. Lydon Lewis, President General of the Grenada Union of Teachers. And as I mentioned in the rundown this morning, in addition to Lydon, you're also going to be hearing a couple other voices from a couple other union leaders, Mr. Andre Lewis and Miss Rachael Roberts. All right? Just let me, hold on, let me check and see what's going on here. Bernard Gilbert saying good morning to you folks on Facebook. Fitzroy Adams is saying he's watching from a cold Brooklyn. Yeah, everybody knows Brooklyn's freezing this morning. And Mickerman Alexander is saying good morning to you folks as well. Then let's turn back here to Rumble Chat for just a minute. On Rumble Chat, Jaban always has good advice for everybody. Jaban is telling Anthea. Anthea was talking about, being under the covers a little earlier on. Well, Jaban is telling her, Anthea, stay in bed with a cup of hot Grenada cocoa tea. He didn't say coffee. He said cocoa tea. And then he goes on to say, Grenadians, our destiny is not written for us, but by us. Stand up for your rights. And then he closes by saying, equitable and just for all in Grenada? Very debatable. Okay. Thanks a lot, Jabon. Let me take a little break here, guys, and we'll come back and start into our editorials.
Spread some cheer and show you care with GRENADABROADCAST Give-A-Wish promotion. Do you know someone who has had a challenging year and deserves some good fortune, or a worthy cause that needs extra support? Grant them a wish this holiday season with GRENLEC. Just pay your bill in full, then write their name, address, and phone number on the top portion of your bill. Add your phone number and drop it into the wish box at any of our GRENLEC customer centers, or you can enter online via our Facebook page. 15 customers will receive a $500 electricity voucher for giving a wish to someone who deserves it. And 15 winners will each have their wish granted, valued at up to $1,500. What's more, 230 lucky customers will win $75 electricity vouchers. Spread the cheer this year with GRENLEC's Give-A-Wish promotion. Visit our website or Facebook page for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends December 21st.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, we'll give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Welcome home. Grenadian General Insurance Company. Strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company. Tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive. Motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary. Public liability. Professional indemnity. Directors liability. And wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Okay, I see here that on Rumble Chat, Kipling says, there is an old saying, you make your bed, lie in it. Sadly, some have no bed to make. So says Kipling on Rumble Chat. Then over here on Facebook, Veronica Sandy is saying good morning and blessings to all in Grenada from New York City. Nice to have you on board, Veronica. Folks, let's get into the first of our editorials this morning. It comes to you from the Grenadian Voice. Will this impasse end in the courts? Certainly, during this government's term in office, no one can boast of a calm industrial climate. The 2% gratuity offer has angered public officers, notably teachers, resulting in days of industrial action, which has disrupted the operations at various schools. In 3 weeks, teachers stayed away from the classrooms for a total of 8 days. The workers were not intimidated by government's threat to deduct monies from their salaries for days off the job and a court injunction so that workers in essential services cannot join the industrial action. The union said that this threat insulted teachers who were engaged in a legal industrial action. Added to that, teachers are already going the extra mile, using their own resources to pick up the slack of government in providing teaching aids and material, overseeing extracurricular activities, and helping with students' personal needs so that they can attend school. The unions warn that if only one teacher comes forward to complain that monies were deducted, they will engage in work to rule and only perform the minimum requirements as stated within their contracts, nothing more. Time alone will tell if government is bluffing or dead serious. The injunction, however, has since been withdrawn as government claims this was being done to facilitate talks with the unions and staff associations on the issue at hand. Consequently, the parties are expected to meet today, Friday. That's when this editorial was written, folks. Just bear that in mind. The origin of the 25% gratuity being demanded by the unions is the issue of contention. The unions claim that this percentage is contained within the Pension Law 20, which governs them. But government claims that this law is null and void. According to Minister Oliver Joseph last week, the Pension Disqualification Act of 1983 canceled the 1958 Pension Act, which made provision for established workers to receive a pension from government. He added that the Pension Disqualification Act, or PDA, was gazetted only on February 22nd, 1985. And so, in keeping with the court's ruling, government restored pension to those who started working before this date, which cost the government $7 million. That, Joseph said, is government's only legal obligation. He stated that government has no legal obligation to pay pension and gratuity to workers who entered the public service after February 22, 1985. Workers are to receive pension only from the National Insurance Scheme. Hence, the MOU was signed with unions in February 2018 to negotiate for the restoration of pension for workers entering the service between February 22, 1985 and December 31st, 2018. Nonetheless, Attorney at Law and former Attorney General Jimmy Bristol has publicly stated that government's position goes against constitutional provisions, as he referred to two cases where two public officers have challenged the Pension Disqualification Act, and the court did rule in their favor. Irvin McQueen in 1997 and Hermelin Armstrong in 2012. McQueen was appointed a public officer on February 1st, 1984. In 1996, he was retired by the Public Service Commission due to reorganization of the department in which he worked. He was denied a pension on the argument that his right was abolished by the Pension Disqualification Act. The High Court agreed with the government's position, but then it was reversed on appeal. Former OECS Court of Appeal Judge Sir Dennis Byron ruled that the Pension Disqualification Act of 1983 was unconstitutional and that Mr. McQueen was entitled to pensions since there is no law that provides for a pension scheme to replace the pension scheme under the 1958 Pensions Act for the benefit of public officers appointed after 1983. Referencing this case, Attorney Bristol quoted a section of the judgment from Sir Dennis Byron, which said, quote, "The Pension Disqualification Act is void to the extent that it is inconsistent with the benefits created by Section 84(8) of the Constitution. The only legislation which could validly be employed under the Constitution to determine the entitlement of the appellant is the Pension Act, Cap 233. In the case of Ms. Armstrong, who entered the service as a key punch operator in the Ministry of Planning, Finance, and Trade in May of 1983 and retired in August 2009, the court ruled that she was entitled to receive benefits, pensions, and gratuity accumulating to the sum of $56,724.59 with an interest rate of 6% per annum. Government has since honored that court ruling. The union's position is that the Pension Act is still valid today for calculating pension benefits for a public officer to whom Section 84(8) of the Constitution applies. If that is so, why should the unions then be negotiating to restore pension? Should the negotiation only be to reform pension, to develop a more favorable pension scheme to replace the original one, if deemed necessary. With government, Attorney Bristol and the unions having varying interpretations of the law and application of the court rulings, will this impasse lead to a case that must be settled in a court of law? In the interest of nation building, we are looking forward to a speedy settlement. That, Pilgrims, is the editorial which appeared in this past week's edition of the Grenadian Voice. Okay, let me see here. Oh boy. Should I take this one on? Let's see here. Beverly Mitchell has joined us on Facebook. Now, there's a pretty lengthy post here from somebody named Ernesto Jose. And I haven't read it yet, but you know, George tries to get everybody in and gives everybody their 2 cents. I'm going to try and read this and hope that it is properly written, grammatically and spelling and everything, okay? Good morning, G in Grenada and the Tri-Island State. I look forward on Sundays to tuning in and to be a part of Education Sunday. Last night I was listening to a clip from GBN with the health minister. I was taken when I heard him mentioning that our children have been used as pawns and should not be a part of what is currently happening. I think the ministry should be concerned about the embarrassed, the poor health care. I guess he means about the embarrassing poor health care we have in Grenada, where a citizen went to 2 government-known hospitals and none of its x-rays were operating. He should be ashamed of himself and ask Kennedy to come back to save our failing health care under his management. Whew. Let's go back now to Rumble Chat. We've now been joined by We Will Rise, saying good morning to you folks. And Kipling Francis says there's an old saying. Yeah, we read that one already. Okay. So, folks, I'll tell you what. Let's take another little break here, and we'll come back with our second editorial, which comes to you from the new today.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate, Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Conveniently located in the Grand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Granads will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
With free island-wide delivery, Hubbard's Building Supplies and Lumber Departments continue to provide the best quality lumber, steel, tiles, plumbing materials, electrical, and general hardware supplies At competitive prices, we continually consult with builders, homeowners, and contractors to improve product range and services. Enjoy discounts where applicable, including the use of credit and debit cards. At Hubbard's Building Supplies, Grandans, and Lumber Department, Caranage, we offer quality service, affordable prices, giving you the convenient, reliable, free island-wide delivery. Call 440-2087 for all your home improvement and building solutions.
Okie dokie, let's see here now, 13 minutes away from the hour. Let's turn to the editorial which appeared in this past week's edition of The New Today. The current industrial impasse in the country should be placed squarely at the feet of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell and a few very dishonest persons around him, especially the former President General of the Technical and Allied Workers Union, Chester Humphrey. There is no need for the state of uncertainty in Grenada on the issue of the payment of pension and gratuity for public workers of the country, including teachers. The New Today is fully aware of a court appeal ruling in 1998 by then Chief Justice of the OECS Supreme Court, Sir Dennis Byron, in a matter between Irvin McQueen versus Public Service Commission on the very matter of pension and benefits due to public officers. The court ruled in favor of McQueen and guaranteed pension for all qualified public officers and cleared the way for them to go home at the end of their tenure in government with their pension and other benefits. Dr. Mitchell was Prime Minister at the time of this historic ruling and should have understood the implications for the national purse. The Prime Minister immediately set up a committee to address the pension issue, and the body was comprised of late Governor General Sir Paul Schoon, former Accountant General Garvey Lewison, and Chester Humphrey, who is today totally silent on the issue. As a champion of the working class for most of his life, Mr. Humphrey should come forward and divulge the contents of the report to all workers in the country. Why is he not speaking up on the issue? The report of the Sir Paul Schoon-led committee was never revealed to the public, and today is lying on some shelf within the confines of government and not being implemented, as so many other reports which did not find favor with Prime Minister Mitchell. This newspaper is firmly of the view that Dr. Mitchell was only engaged in mamagism with the current lot of young and inexperienced union leaders when, on the heels of the March 13th general elections, he signed a memorandum of understanding with them on the vexing issue of pension restoration and reform. This MOU was clearly aimed at taking pension off the table in the volatile election campaign atmosphere and to win the general election at all costs. This was deceitful, as the Prime Minister was already fully aware of the Irvin McQueen ruling by the Court of Appeal and was trying to duck from the true financial implications for his government. Dr. Mitchell was also trying to use a backdoor approach to set aside the Court of Appeal ruling and to come up with some kind of a new formula that does not include the enshrined 25% provision as protected by the Constitution for public officers. It is our information that two principal legal officers of the government, former Attorney General Cajetan Hood and former Solicitor General Dwight Hosford, fully understood the Irvin McQueen constitutional ruling on pensions by Sir Dennis Byron and two other justices of appeal. So, who within the government with a legal mind was trying to influence Dr. Mitchell into usurping the ruling of the Court of Appeal? Is it the then Minister of Legal Affairs, Elvin Nimrod, or Acting Attorney General, Dr. Lawrence Joseph, or someone else? It is clear that the government has brought on this industrial impasse and now has no idea of its own on how to bring the dispute to an end. Prime Minister Mitchell is also acting in a very arrogant and high-handed manner, since he believes that he is the only political grandmaster and political guru in the country, and that no one should challenge him given his record of 3 clean 15-0 victories at the polls in general elections. It is time for the ruling New National Party to step in and help to bring an end to the current industrial unrest and impasse in the country on this 25% pension issue due to public officers. There is no need for any fresh general election in the country to elect a new prime minister, as all 15 elected members of parliament are on the side of the NNP. The New Today is calling on the governing party to act in the national interest and to use the model that was implemented in Zimbabwe against the aging and dictatorial Robert Mugabe in the ZANU party by replacing him with an alternative candidate from within the NNP. The party should seriously consider selecting one of the other 14 MPs in Parliament to take over the running of the country from Dr. Mitchell, who is clearly tired and needs to go home and rest after 40+ years in the political life of the country. The Mitchell-led administration has become very inept, as can be clearly seen in its bungling of the current impasse. The government broke the law when, under its watch, the Supreme Court registry was opened on a Saturday in violation of the court regulations to allow the regime to file court papers in connection with the injunction order brought against the Public Workers Union to prevent workers in the essential services from joining in solidarity strike action. Guyanese attorney-at-law Darshan Ramdhani, who was spearheading the abandoned court injunction as legal consultant in the Ministry of Legal Affairs, should be mindful of the fact that some persons in Grenada are now seeing him in the same vein as the controversial special prosecutor, Hugh Wildman of Jamaica, who was regarded as the legal hitman for the Prime Minister. Grenada is now in a state of uncertainty, but Labor Minister Peter David is taking a 3-day break when he should have been meeting every second, minute, and hour of the day with the union leaders to bring an end to the impasse that was created by government. The New Today is convinced that the government does not know what to do to end the strike action, as the 25% cannot be rolled back since it is enshrined in the Pension Act and protected by the Constitution for all public officers in the country. That, my dear friends, is the editorial which appeared in last week's edition of The New Today. Phyllis Maturin has appeared on Facebook. Hello, Lawrence. Lawrence is saying, "Good morning, Mr. Grant. Hey, guys above. I'm also watching and listening. Happy listening to all." And then I know there's something else that came in here on Rumble chat a little while ago. Kipling says, "Can anyone remember some of these very ones complaining now were among those saying they don't want Nazem Burke to get a hold of all the money?" Oh, please, Kipling, please, please. Folks, I have just been given a bit of a surprise here. While I was reading that last editorial from from The New Today, out of the corner of my eye, yes, you can come sit over here, please. At the top of the program this morning, I told you that Mr. Lyden Lewis would be coming in here to sit and chat with us this morning. Is he going to be here? He is going to be here. Now, I have also seen. Take a look at this. Take a look. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. And smiling to boot. There she is, the president of the Public Workers Union, Rachael. Well, Rachael, I'll tell you something. You know, I'm glad you're here, but I also have to be honest with you. You issued a statement on I think it was Friday night, and I have this all queued up here because I'm going to be playing it this morning. So we're getting a double dose of Rachael this morning, if you will. Huh? In the meantime, folks, let's take a little break here, and then we're going to come back and chat with Rachael, and she says that Lyden is going to be here as well. And also, I'm sure you know, Rachael, that there was a statement issued by Mr. Andre Lewis. We're also going to be running that this morning, so it's going to be a busy morning, eh? We'll get to that in just a wee bit.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Spread some cheer and show you care with GRENADABROADCAST Give-A-Wish promotion. Do you know someone who has had a challenging year and deserves some good fortune, or a worthy cause that needs extra support? Grant them a wish this holiday season with GRENLEC. Just pay your bill in full, then write their name, address, and phone number on the top portion of your bill. Add your phone number and drop it into the wish box at any of our GRENLEC customer centers, or you can enter online via our Facebook page. 15 customers will receive a $500 electricity voucher for giving a wish to someone who deserves it. And 15 winners will each have their wish granted, valued at up to $1,500. What's more, 230 lucky customers will win $75 electricity vouchers. Spread the cheer this year with GRENLEC's Give a Wish promotion. Visit our website or Facebook page for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends December 21st.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, will give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Welcome home.
Alrighty, folks, it's now 2.5 minutes after 10 o'clock. I know that everybody's been following the recent developments here in Grenada pertaining to this industrial impasse. And we went into the weekend not feeling too good about what's coming up this week. You know, things are heightening, they're escalating. And I am very, very pleased that Rachael Roberts, who's the president of the Public Workers Union, has been able to join us this morning. I'm also happy that we're going to be hearing from Lydon Lewis. He's coming in from Grenville, I understand it. And we're also going to be hearing a recorded piece from Andre Lewis, who's the head of TAWU. Now, I have to admit to you folks that I've heard from Andre before, I've heard from Lydon, I've heard from Rachael, and I'm very pleased that they have facilitated my requests, okay? But there is one person I really, really wanted to hear from, and it's important that I tell you this. I am referring to somebody whom, in my humble opinion, I'm not saying that's the case, but in my humble opinion, probably understands the labor environment in this country better than anyone else. He has been a fearless soldier in the fight for workers' rights. He has defended them to the very core of his existence. I am referring to Senator Chester Humphrey. I just felt, you know, everybody else is babbling, but this man, he has a track record. Plain and simple. And I thought, this is the person I really want to hear from. So in preparation for this morning's program, I made 2 calls to him and left voicemails. And I still haven't heard from him. But I'll tell you one thing. I haven't given up. You know me, perennial optimist. I know that Senator Humphrey listens to this program religiously. And I'm hoping that somewhere down the line, he will pick up the phone and give me a call here. Senator, just in case you're listening, the number to call would be 415-0631. And by the way, you and I are already hooked up on WhatsApp. So give me a ding on WhatsApp. And I'm hoping that you will put your 2 cents into this. With all that you have built up over the years, your experience on the trade union movement in this country, I believe that Grenada really needs to hear from you. I don't care what side you're on, sir. I just want Grenadians to hear from you. Now, having said that, take a look. There she is. And I'm pretty darn sure she's coming in here this morning from church.
Very true.
True? Did you pray for us?
Yes.
Did you pray for me?
True. Very true. Very true.
You prayed for me?
We lift up prayers for everyone when we enter church.
Okay. Rachel, boy, girl, this must be a really, really tough time for you and your colleagues in the labor movement. Where do you stand now? I mean, we saw the statement that you made a couple of nights ago. Would you mind if I play that and then we can comment on it? Okay. We're going to play the statement that was made by Rachael, I think it was on Friday. And once again, I want to thank the Grenada Broadcasting Network for this. Here she is.
Today is indeed a sad and disappointing day for us. Again, we went to the table in good faith and have been disappointed and tricked by our employer. On the call made by the Bishop of Grenada, all the unions decided to go to the table in good faith by honoring the bishop's call. And public officers, I must call on you and let you know that our employer has not honored our 25% gratuity. And therefore, I call on all of you to recognize that we shall not be moved. We shall stand firm and we shall not go home in poverty. And therefore, I call on all of you to be at home on Monday and Tuesday. Industrial action continues. The struggle continues. Hold the fort because we shall not be moved. I ask you to be firm, to stand firm. Stand behind your union. Know that your union is standing with you and we shall support you in thick or thin. Let it be known that the Public Workers Union shall stand firm for 25% gratuity because that is just and it is the honorable thing. There shall be a mass demonstration on Wednesday if our government does not recognize that they must be just and they must pay us what is due to us.
All right. So there she was on Friday. That's Rachael Roberts, who's the head of the Public Workers Union. Just before I get to Rachael, just let me say this, folks. Already there are comments. I told you this morning that you could expect that we would have a rough ride with the internet this morning. But we were on, and a lot of people were watching on Facebook. Well, guess what? The link to Facebook has now totally, hear me, read my lips, it has now totally disappeared. Okay? So, you may listen on TuneIn, you may listen on Grenada Broadcast, up on the right-hand side of that page, you'll see Listen Live Radio. You may listen on Radio Genre, and you may also listen on Radio Garden. Okay, folks? Now, terribly sorry about that, but you understand that this is not the first time it's happened. You've seen this happen to me here over and over and over and over, so you understand what's going on. But let's get into our little tete-a-tete here with Rachael this morning. Rachael, thank you so much for coming. I sat here listening to that little piece you did, and I sense frustration. Absolute frustration, correct?
Yes. It was very, very disheartening when we attended the meeting on Friday. We were all very hopeful, and we all felt that this was the day that we would come to some resolution of this issue. Because let's face it, a number of persons are hurting, our nation's children are hurting, our nation is hurting from this whole issue that we have to go through. And as unions, as reasonable persons, as responsible persons, we are seeking to do everything possible to ensure that the matter is resolved in a manner that our members are justly treated and that our nation is also justly treated. We know what we have been asking for, and we know why we have been asking for it. It seems to us that our employer does not understand and recognize what we are saying, or seem to just willfully not recognize it. We went to the table and we were very humble. We listened, we were respectful, and we ensured that to control our emotions and that we would be very constructive at the table in our deliberations, to give our leader, Brother Andre Lewis, the full responsibility to speak on behalf of all the unions. So we were very organized and knew exactly what our goal was, what our objective was, what we wanted, what the results were that we would want to leave with at the table. At the table, it was a great disappointment and shock for us to learn that our employer, the former Minister of Labour, was saying to us that for the first time he was really understanding that what we were asking for was actually 0.25%. When the whole nation, the whole country is aware that our troubles regarding our gratuity was the fact that our government was saying to us it was not going to honor 25 and it was going to put 2. We are happy, we are very happy that at this stage, when we went to the table, the government actually said we would put aside the 2% that was offered. And we were very grateful for that. We went to the table not seeing 25 in the letter, but being hopeful and respecting the wishes of the Bishop of Grenada, who made an appeal to the entire nation. I want you to go back to the table. I want you to create a new table. And we felt, let us give this a chance. Let us be big enough in the interest of our members to return, because we know that we can solve nothing off the table. It is only sitting around the table and negotiating and discussing respectfully and truthfully that we can bring a resolution. And there we were. We all went to the table. The Grenada Public Workers Union, the Grenada Union of Teachers, the Grenada Technical and Allied Workers Union, and our brothers of the Royal Grenada Police Force Gazetted Officers, and our brothers of the Royal Grenada Police Force Association, and our brothers of the Prison Services Association, Welfare Association. And we had one voice. We had one mission. and we had one spokesman. Because we wanted the message to be clear, and we wanted the message to be totally understood by our employer. And we had the minister, the former Minister of Labour, Honorable Oliver Joseph, present, along with the Cabinet Secretary, Mrs. Beryl Isaac, and one member who represents the social partners at the table, the Conference of Churches specifically at the table. And we put forward our case again, as we normally do. And it was not met with any positive response. I would say that we received nothing at the table, more than to say to us that what we were asking for was not understood. And for the first time, it was being understood by the minister, the former Minister of Labour. We deliberated around the table, and I was very saddened to learn that on my way to church, I was stopped and told that why did the unions walk off the table for a second time? And that was total untruth that was being told to the nation. If the nation have been told that the unions walked off the table for a second time, that is a total untruth. We deliberated to the end, sat at the table, and left the table at the end where we told our employers thank you, but we expect to get a response from you with our wishes that was put forward. And we would like to hear from you. We were told by them that they couldn't meet with us until Thursday, when this matter was a matter of urgency, and our employer came to the table knowing what we wanted, but came empty-handed with nothing to offer. We are open to discussion, and there are certain parameters of that discussion that we do not have the ability to move. And we have explained that explicitly to our employers. 25% is something that has to be honored, is a part of what we say has been enshrined, and our government, our employer telling us that they do not know where the 25% come from is just laughable. Because we know that we all know where that 25% came from and why it is so important and valuable. And it is the truth. It is what would be justice. And we appeal to our employer to be just, to give the people what is right, what is just, and what would be an honorable thing to do. Do not suffer the citizens of this country. When you as a politician is benefiting, you should want the same for yourself as you would want for your citizens of your country. And it is inhumane to treat the citizens of your country, the men and women who sacrifice on a daily basis to ensure that the government runs smoothly, to ensure that the children are well taught, that we have an educated nation, that we have a nation that is a wealthy nation because the health of the nation is taken care of. That we have a nation that ensures that when you go for services in any ministry and department, you are assured of quality service. Public officers sacrifice a lot. And we are constantly going through a lot of difficult challenges within the workplace. And we come to work on a daily basis and we produce. And our services should be valued and appreciated. And we should not be allowed to leave the public service in poverty, to leave the public service without our government, without our country saying to us, we valued your service and we want you to go home in a dignified manner. And this is all we asking for. This is all we asking for from our employer, to allow us to retire in dignity. And we know there are two methods that anyone leaving the public service can take when they are leaving. You have the option to go home with a gratuity, or you have the option to go home with your full pension. So you go home with a gratuity that affords you a pension that is reduced, or you go home with your full pension on a monthly basis. And we should not be denied that opportunity because we are free men and we are free women. And that should be appreciated, respected, and valued. And we want to bring a resolution to this matter. We are made out to be all sorts of things by our employer. But we know that is not the truth, because this struggle is not a struggle about politics. This struggle is a struggle for our human dignity in our senior ages. And it is the human dignity of all public officers, whether they support the NNP, whether they support the NDC, whether they support the GULP, the TNP, whatever party is in this country, that as a citizen of this country, you choose to support. And this matter, this issue you would have recognized, have actually united all public officers to stand together. And those who you recognize are not participating are the ones that are seriously challenged, are the ones that are being intimidated. And we warn that our labor code speaks to intimidating persons from participating within the organization of the trade union movement and denying them the ability for them to associate. So we say, please, do not break the labor code. Do not break the laws of Grenada and deny any citizen the right to associate. Freedom of association has been given to the trade union movement from the Constitution. From the Constitution. And we ask all our managers within the public service to honor our Constitution and the right bestowed on public officers, the right bestowed on them in the labor code. And if we look at our labor code, section 25, it definitely spells out what freedom of association entails. And if we look at the Constitution on section 11, it totally spells it out also. And the labor code also says what can happen if that right is not allowed. And we would never want to go down that pathway. We would never want to go down that pathway. So we beg, please, do not intimidate, do not threaten, do not seek to victimize our public officers. We have public officers who are acting in various positions and are threatened that at the end of this we will take away your acting appointment. We have public officers who are in various positions temporary, that at the end of it, they may be threatened. Their positions may no longer be. We have persons who are on contract, and we say to our employer, do not frighten anyone, do not threaten anyone. This is their right, and they are fighting for dignity in their senior moments. We have many public officers at home who can hardly afford to have their mortgages paid. They do not know where the next meal is coming from. Thank God we live in a country where you can probably step outside and get a hand of fig, get a breadfruit, go by the pay head and get some jacks and be able to have a meal. That is the serious nature of this pension that public officers has been denied. Many public officers have to compete with the young people of our nation. The young persons of our nation who should be getting the jobs. Senior citizens who are not getting a pension have to take those jobs so that they could pay their mortgages and pay their bills and buy medication. And we know that when you get at a certain age, that is the time when a number of health challenges are placed on you. That is the time when a number of persons become ill. And so we beg of our government, we beg of our employer to please allow persons the right of freedom of association. We do not want to return to the days of slavery. We are free citizens, and even the slaves had the ability to rebel when they wanted to. They may have been terribly punished, but they ensured that their rights were upheld. And we want our rights to be upheld. And it would be a great victory for the employer if the employer honors the wishes of the trade union movement, of the public officers whose right it is to 25% gratuity. And we have put aside the legal arguments surrounding this and have decided to take a negotiated approach in the interests of Grenada, making the necessary sacrifice in the name of patriotism, in the name of country, merging our pension with the NIS pension and making it become a contributory scheme that we contribute through the NIS and we receive a little top-up from government. Many of us as public officers leave the public service at a very senior age, at the age of 60. Very few public officers would retire at early retirement. So we know that what we are asking for would not be something that the government would have to provide for a large number of persons at any one time. Because we do not all live together. We all live at varying times. And if you look at the statistics, persons who may come in at the same time within the service, around the same age, may leave together. What number is that? It is not a very, very large number that would break the coffers of our government, of the consolidated fund, as we see made out. And we really want to have this matter resolved. We do not like to be at home. We do not want to have to march the streets of St. George's. But if that is what it takes for us to be heard, for us to be listened to, it means that is the route we would have to go to. Because that is the only weapon that we have as citizens, as trade unionists. We want to sit around the table and get this matter resolved. And we wish and we hope and we pray that our employer would find it within their heart to recognize the pain that is being brought onto our nation as a result of this matter.
All right, Rachel, I didn't want to interrupt you, but hence the reason I allowed you to just continue there unabated. But there's a question I want to ask. Earlier on, did I hear you say that at the meeting on Friday, the minister mentioned something about 0.2%?
0.25%, which if you do the mathematical calculation, you could recognize that 0.25 is actually 25% mathematically. Because when you put it into any equation, it would be the pension multiplied by 0.25 multiplied by 12.5. And that is the formula that is used for gratuity. Right? The pension formula is calculated in a different manner because we're asking for 70% of your last salary. So whatever 70% of your last salary is would be your pension, and that would be your monthly take home at the end of the month. But what we want persons to recognize that of that 70%, government would only be responsible for a small portion because the NIS would be taking care of the majority.
All right, now you're obviously getting slightly ahead of me because that's exactly where I was headed. The unions are obviously confident that this 25% demand it's realistic. You don't have an issue with it. Government obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, I'm hoping they would be open to suggestions from the unions as to how that 25% can be met.
And we are very open to those discussions as to how it would be paid. There are various
You do
options.
believe it can be. You do have a method.
We have a method, but government must put forward its proposals.
Sure.
Government must put forward its proposals because obviously you understand negotiations. You would like your negotiators, the other side, to put forward those arguments because you would not want to be negotiating against yourself in putting forward arguments that can cause you to negotiate against yourself. So we would want them to come with whatever proposals, and we are open to those discussions. The trade union movement is not a rigid movement. We can be flexible, and our membership understands the nature of this situation even more than we do in some instances. They are well educated and well on top of this situation. And we are the leaders to advise and to guide. And we would be willing to advise and to guide our membership. But we have to be very conscious that there are certain parameters in which we can go. We cannot go against certain parameters. And we are willing to explore all the options that may be put on the table where we can negotiate on, where we can be flexible on.
At the moment, government seems to be standing firm in its point of view that this would really go contrary to the act. I'm trying to remember the name of the act.
Fiscal responsibility
Fiscal
law.
responsibility law. Okay. What do you say to that? Don't you buy into that idea in any way, shape, or form?
For us as a trade union movement, you would recall that when this fiscal responsibility law came into being, that the trade union movement clearly stated that we do not buy into that law. Because for us, we felt it was an unfair law, a law that hindered bargaining, collective bargaining, because the rules of collective bargaining are clear. And it is very unjust and unfair for a law to be placed, an impediment to be placed before the trade union movement, even before we come to the bargaining table. And government went to Parliament and developed a law. But government can go to Parliament and change a law. So we know that there could be movement, and there are many ways that things could be done within the realm of the budget that could allow for things to be changed. And one of the things that has hurt me a lot, that I've always heard the argument and has brought me great pain, is to hear when it is being said that public officers want everything for themselves and the rest of the nation to get none. That is a painful argument. It is a hurtful argument. Because as public officers, we pay taxes just as anyone in the nation. We contribute to the development of our country just as anyone else. And it must first be recognized that we are the employees of the government of Grenada. Mm-hmm. We are not just people. We have a different status quo for us because we are employees of the organization of the government of Grenada, serving all the people of Grenada, selflessly serving. So if you look at it, public officers have two. The government has a double obligation to us. They have an obligation first and foremost to us as employees, and they have an obligation to us as citizens of the country. And it must never be said. It is trying to put the rest of the country against public officers when that statement is made. It is trying to say to the citizens of the country, they alone get in, and look, you getting nothing. And that is an evil statement to make. It is an unjust and unfair statement because that is far from the truth. Anything we get is because we have worked for it. It is the responsibility of our government. We are not asking for anything more than what we should be getting, what is rightfully ours. We never ask our government for anything exorbitant above the law and above what we should be getting. In any organization, it is always said that you should take care of your own, those within, and then you go out. Because you want to ensure you value and you motivate people to be able to bring results for you, to be able to produce, to be able to ensure that this country develops in the way that it should. Because if public officers do not produce, if public officers do not do the work, the country would not get the results that it is getting. And as employees in an organization, and I want to go use Google. Google is an organization that ensure that its employees are treated like family. Because Google wants to ensure that it gets the results, that it safeguards its interests, the bottom line. And the bottom line for us in public service should be ensuring that the citizens of this country are well treated. The citizens of the country receive service that is of a high standard and quality. And therefore, you should be treating the persons who provide those services in a certain manner, that they are comfortable, that they are motivated, and ready to produce and give that quality service. And being able to honor their service so that when they leave, they could leave comfortably. They do not have to worry about that whilst they are working. They could concentrate on producing and not have to bother about how would I survive in the senior years. You know? And we as citizens of Grenada allowed our employers, our political leaders, to be taken care of in their senior ages because we respect the services that they provide. We respect that they are the ones having to make the decisions, the tough decisions for our nation. They are the ones having to go out there in Parliament and serve us, make laws and do all those things. So we ensure that for the service that they have given to Grenada, that when they leave the public service, they leave in a dignified manner with a pension, a proper pension and gratuity. They are going home with 20%. And not just 20%, 20% every 4 years. So every term our employer spends in office, they are able to go home with something reasonable that they could live after, because we don't want to see any of our political leaders not being well taken care of. We want to ensure that they are comfortable and well taken care of, because after you have served this country, you must never become a beggar on the street. And that is what the public officers would become if we do not stand firm to ensure that we receive our true gratuity when we retire. Because let's face it, our salaries are the smallest around the Caribbean. If you go to compare the salaries of public officers around the Caribbean, Grenada is at the lower end. We are at the lower echelon of the bracket. When we go out there to represent Grenada at any event, we do not speak about salaries around the table with any of our colleagues, you know. When that topic come up, we have to leave and go to the washroom. Because our salaries, we have to be ashamed to discuss it, because it does not measure to what the others are getting and receiving. So you see the comparison that is being made, it should never be made. It should never be made. Barbados is receiving something. Barbados salaries cannot be compared to us in Grenada. Their salaries are way above ours. So they can take a wage cut, a wage freeze, because they are comfortable. What they are receiving could support them. We know that the liquor that we are receiving here could barely buy 2 ends meet, make 2 ends meet, as we say in local parlance.
All right, I'll tell you what, Rachael, I'm going to take a little break here now, pay some bills. But when we come back, I want us to reflect a little bit on what happened last week and what's likely to happen from here on. Because as we saw just a little while ago, you're calling on the workers to continue with this process, okay? So let me take a little break here, and we'll come back and continue just a wee bit. Hang in there.
With free island-wide delivery, Hubbard's Building Supplies and Lumber Departments continue to provide the best quality lumber, steel, tiles, plumbing materials, electrical, and general hardware supplies at competitive prices. We continually consult with builders, homeowners, and contractors to improve product range and services. Enjoy discounts where applicable, including the use of credit and debit cards. At Hubbard's Building Supplies, Grandans, and Lumber Department, Caranage, we offer quality service, affordable prices, giving you the convenient, reliable, free island-wide delivery. Call 440-2087 for all your home improvement and building solutions.
Spread some cheer and show you care with GRENADABROADCAST Give-A-Wish promotion. Do you know someone who has had a challenging year and deserves some good fortune, or a worthy cause that needs extra support? Grant them a wish this holiday season with GRENLEC. Just pay your bill in full, then write their name, address, and phone number on the top portion of your bill. Add your phone number and drop it into the wish box at any of our GRENLEC customer centers, or you can enter online via our Facebook page. 15 customers will receive a $500 electricity voucher for giving a wish to someone who deserves it. And 15 winners will each have their wish granted, valued at up to $1,500. What's more, 230 lucky customers will win $75 electricity vouchers. Spread the cheer this year with GRENLEC's Give-A-Wish promotion. Visit our website or Facebook page for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends December 21st.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, will give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks, I'm back with Rachael Roberts, who's the president of the Public Workers Union. Rachael, we're still holding strain here. I'm still hoping that Leiden is going to show up, because there's something I wanted to bring up with Leiden. Sometime this week I noticed on Facebook that he was a little bit concerned about his safety. I don't know if you're willing to talk about that, but before I do, what I really want to start this segment with is the turnout that you guys had for your walk this past week. I mean, it was just, I think it took a lot of people by surprise, and others really expected it to happen. But despite the fact that this massive turnout materialized, let's face it, there are some people who stayed home. Okay, well, probably went to work or like they were supposed to. Rachael, on Wednesday you have another march. Are you expecting at least the same sort of turnout that you had here this past week?
But Grant, first I will want to say that I would not want to speak for my brother Leiden Lewis. I would want him to speak for himself on that matter. However, it was very heartening to see the turnout at that march and rally on Tuesday last week. And that was organized in a very swift manner. We did not have much time to plan, and having that level of turnout was magnificent. It was really tremendous. It demonstrated the commitment of persons to really stand up for what they believe, for what is truth, for what is justice, and for what we deserve, what is the right and honorable thing. And I want to publicly congratulate our teachers. Our teachers were out in such huge numbers, it was amazing. I've never seen such large numbers at May Day with the teachers. And the numbers that were out there can tell you that the teachers are committed to this and they would stand firm. We had a large number of public officers also, but you must understand the situation of our public officers. Many of them are on contract, many of them are temporary, and in a large number of places, the workers that you see are not true public officers, they are trainees, they are imanis, and this affected the ability of public officers to really stand firm. And I want to say to our contract workers, you have to come out and stand with your union so that your union could stand with you. And we are the union. Each and every member makes the union strong. We are the union. And you have to be brave. You have to be brave. Because this time calls for nothing more than bravery and courage. And I want you to have courage. I want you to stand tall, to stand firm. Union men, I say be brave. And if we are all together in this struggle, nothing can stop us now. Nothing can stop us. We would be successful if we stand together as one. We can only be powerful in numbers, and we demonstrated that power on Tuesday. And that has given us courage. It has given us the ability to stand up for something that we believe in. To know that the workers of this country are prepared to do whatever it takes to ensure that they do not go home in an undignified manner, to ensure that their social security in the future is safeguarded. And that was very rewarding and gratifying.
Well, let me say this to you, Rachel, and I don't know, this might be music to your ears. I have been picking up on the ground from some people who have traditionally been very anti-union, but who have come out in support of what they saw taking place here this past week. Like a lot of people, they're not going to wave a flag because they don't want to be identified, but they'll talk to you privately. And I mean people who just don't mention union to them, okay? But they have come out in support for what you guys are doing. Yesterday afternoon, Rachel, there was a young lady sitting in that chair that you're sitting in right now. She came here to have a chat with me. And she said to me, you know, George, this thing goes way beyond pensions and gratuity. She says people are viewing the unions as taking a stance for what has been happening here in Grenada over the past few years. Things have been building up, and maybe it's about to reach a climax, okay? And so she said to me, that's the reason why you saw so many people turn out there. She said, even though the unions may not know what her issue is, she ain't involved with unions. She's self-employed. But she feels that you guys were standing up for her. And that won her admiration. Let me hear you.
The trade union movement represents the unionized and the ununionized. And when we speak for the voice of the voiceless. And in this matter, we do not want to politicize it. We do not want it to have a color. We want it to have the face of the trade union movement, the men and women who are working diligently in the trenches, in the public service for this great nation. We would act responsibly as a union, as trade unionists, all of us together collectively. And we have not faltered on the unity in this struggle. Because what we know is that workers united can never be defeated. And that's what we have demonstrated. And while there may be a number of issues within Grenada that are affecting the nation, as a movement, we remain focused on the goal of gratuity justice for our public officers. Justice. Ensuring that we are fair in all that we do and that we are just and that we stand for what is true and what is right. Because anything we do, and I would speak for the Grenada Public Workers Union, we do it first and foremost with our Almighty Father standing at our side. And we believe that if we do anything that is not right and the truth, He would not appreciate and He would strike us down. So we stand firm on the belief that we are doing the right thing, that we are doing the honorable thing. And this is why I think the people of Grenada are supporting us, because they recognize that we are truthful and we are fair and we are honest. And anything we do it with honesty. We do it with sincerity. We do it for the love of the working class, for the love of country. We do not do it for our own selfish interests. Because I can tell you, Brother Grant, that if I was doing it for my own selfish interests, I would not be a trade unionist. Because I have put my career on the line as a trade unionist to recognize that because of the trade union movement, I must stifle my career. However, I stand for workers and I would always stand for workers' rights. Despite what? Because I know that God is the man that shares bread. He is the man that delivers us. He delivered the people of Israel from Egypt. And in this struggle, He would deliver us out. Because He is the great Savior and the great Messiah and the great deliverer. And He is the God of truth and the God of justice. So, Brother Grant, yes, in this era, we see that our issue has united the entire country. And this issue has demonstrated that there are a number of ills in our society that needs to be taken care of. And we hope and we pray that because of this issue, persons would recognize that they need to change and they need to shape up. Because one thing we recognize from this issue, when we could not get our Prime Minister to apologize to our nurses and doctors, we see that we got an apology at the budget speech. Isn't that something?
I'll tell you what, Rachel, I have somebody on the line here who wants to chime in. Go ahead. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, Citizen Grant, and good morning to your guest. First of all, let me express my full solidarity with the workers of this here country on what I consider to be quote-unquote demands. Heard some language from Ms. Roberts, where she spoke of hopes that the government accedes to the wishes of the union. Oh, no, my goodly lady, use the language. These are not wishes. These are not your perverse desires. These are demands you're making. upon the government who have been disregarding the laws of the quote-unquote laws of the land. I want you to be stronger when you speak to the people, referring to that law of 1958, the Teachers' Pension Act. I was advised on radio and so on. I had an opportunity to revise these things myself. I want you to talk about Section 90 to be of the so-called imperial order. That's what it is. But the fact is, that's what we have. I want you to talk a little more of the rulings of the court, which makes null and void that previous thing, act or law by the revolutionary government. This is not my thinking. I'm a full supporter, was a full supporter of the revolution. But the fact is, if the law says that it's illegal or null and void, that's what it is. Speak of these issues to the people. You see, you're not begging for support from the people. You have to tell them why you solicit the support. Be a little firm in your language. And furthermore, I want to tell you this. I heard the so-called Prime Minister threatening and calling people all kind of names from your union, fraternity, bullies and all kind of things. Challenge the man on these things. He doesn't own Grenada, for Christ's sake. Challenge the man on these things. Stand firm in your position. I can't do very much these days, but I fully support you. And when a jackass supports you, I can bet you have good support in this here country. Thank you very much. Do have a nice day, will you?
All right, caller. Rachel.
I want to thank the caller for his comments, and he was he made a number of valid points. And it is very wrong, and I would not support it, and I would never support it, that the trade union movement is being seen as bullies. We are not bullies, my brother. We only asked for what is ours, what is rightfully ours. And as you pointed out, it is under the Constitution. The cases were won, and there are a number of legal cases that speaks to it. The McQueen case, the Humlin Armstrong case. And we know the legal process and the lengthy process of the legal process. And that some of us may die before that lengthy process is completed. Look at the Humlin Armstrong, how long it was. And so in the interest of ensuring that persons are able to reap the rewards of their labor in a speedy manner, we felt that it should not take us very long to come to a settlement within the parameters of what we know has to happen. And therefore, as trade unions, we went to our membership and got their permission to do what we're doing. We did not do it on our own. Our members gave us the mandate. And that's why we can powerfully speak and represent the membership, because it was their mandate. And therefore, when we sit around the table, we can sit with confidence. And calling us bullies and seeing us as persons who want to create havoc in the society, we see that as just a means of getting away from what is really the truth, from the issue at hand, and trying to put the trade union movement in a negative light would not help what is happening. To me, it exposes the negative of the other side. And
let me take another call here. Let me take another call here. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, morning. What I want to find out from your guest is this. Yes, good morning, good morning.
Forget about the radio, sir. Listen to me on the telephone. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm not near the radio. Yes, what I want to find out. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, I am here to find out from Rachael. I learned that the unions have with government merged the government pension with NIS. I want to know if that is true to get that 70% if it is true, they have violated the Constitution because they would make it worse for pension than what pensioners should be getting. The NIS is separate and apart from government pension, and it should never be merged. Thank you.
Rachael?
And that is why we say that our government must honor our gratuity. Because as we know, the NIS does not allow us to receive a gratuity under the NIS laws. And so we say to government, you must honor that side of things, because what the law says is that you must not get something that is less favorable. So we ensure that whatever was being negotiated was not less favorable. And that is why certain things has to be honored, because you must not get a less favorable pension. And the NIS does not afford a gratuity, which the law says you should have. And we have set aside the legal arguments, and we have decided, let us negotiate and let us get a settlement that ensures everyone benefits, Grenada benefits. It was a patriotic decision in the interest of country, because as we have heard, Grenada has a number of financial obligations that we want to ensure that we can stand firm and solid as a country. And this is why we made that sacrifice in the interest of country.
All right, I'll tell you what, Rachael, we only have a short while left, but I really want to get in the statement that was made by Andre Lewis a couple of days ago, okay? So let's give a listen to that now, and after you listen to it, you can come on back and comment, reinforce, or whatever. All right? Here we go. This is Senator Andre Lewis addressing the nation, I think it was on Friday night.
National address on the current industrial impasse between the government of Grenada and the unions and staff associations. Citizens of Grenada, sisters and brothers, comrades all, good night. Tonight I address you in my capacity as the leader of the unions and staff associations, UNSA, regarding the matter of pension and gratuity for public sector workers. I am sure that you will have heard and continue to hear the ongoing discussions and pronouncements on the issue. Today, the government's Pension Engagement Committee and the unions and staff associations met at this table, which we hoped is the new table that Bishop Clive Harvey spoke about in his address yesterday, Thursday, November 22nd, 2018. The table that will allow for the gratuity of 25% to be paid as a lump sum or gratuity upfront. It will be important to give a brief background. The unions and staff associations have been fighting for the restoration of pension and gratuity for public officers who were denied this benefit following the Pension Disqualification Act, PDA, passed by the PRG in 1983 and validated by Parliament in February 1985. All attempts at resolving the matter with the various governments proved futile. In 2011, the unions and staff associations were able to get a brave worker, a courageous worker by the name of Sister Humlin Armstrong, to file a case against the government demanding that she be paid a state pension and that the Pension Disqualification Act was unconstitutional. The court ruled in Sister Armstrong's favor. Following that ruling in Sister Armstrong's favor, the government and union and staff associations continued the ongoing discussions for the restoration of pension for public officers. The discussions always centered around the pre-1983 formula for pension and gratuity, in other words, the 1958 formula. This pension and gratuity formula allows for a worker to receive the full pension paid monthly. In this way, the workers receive a larger monthly payment, or a gratuity, which is a lump sum payment, and to receive a reduced pension paid monthly. This monthly payment would be smaller than where the worker received a gratuity. After many rounds of arguments and counter-arguments, the government and the union and staff associations agreed to forego any legal approach and to take a negotiated approach to arriving at a settlement. This was influenced by the fact that no one knew for certain what the outcome of a court matter may be, and it can also be very time-consuming. Apart from the formula for pension which was agreed upon during the discussions, the parties agreed to continue discussions on some other matters. With the above in mind, the parties signed a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, on February 18, 2018 regarding pension for public officers. The government has argued that when they signed the MOU, there was no agreement that gratuity was 25%. This is furthest from the truth. Unions and staff associations always willing to meet. Sisters, brothers, comrades, Grenadians all, the unions accepted an invitation from the Grenada Conference of Churches and the Grenada Private Sector Organization and met with them on the afternoon of Sunday, November 18th, 2018. The representatives from the churches and private sector informed that they had held a meeting with Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell on Saturday, November 17th, 2018, at which he expressed government's desire to return to the table with the unions and staff associations. The churches and private sector representatives informed that Dr. Mitchell said the government has accepted that gratuity was 25%. However, they would like to be able to discuss with the unions and staff association possible permutations for its payment. The unions immediately accepted this. It was agreed that the government would put in writing that they agreed that gratuity was 25% and that the parties will meet to determine how it could be paid. Following the above meeting with the churches and private sector representatives, the unions met with the Minister for Labour, Honourable Peter David, and Labour Commissioner Cyrus Griffith on the evening of Monday, November 19th, 2018. At that meeting, which ended sometime after 8 p.m., the unions repeated what was told to us by the churches and private sector representatives and advised that this would bring about an end to the impasse and a return to the negotiating table once the government sends their acceptance in writing. It was important to get the Prime Minister's acceptance in writing to prevent any further misunderstanding at the negotiating table. The unions were promised a letter by the morning of Tuesday, November 20th, 2018. However, it was not until sometime close to 3 p.m. that a letter was received from the government. This letter did not reflect the commitment given by the Prime Minister to the churches and private sector representatives. Sisters, brothers, comrades, and citizens all, we could not go back to the table without getting the Prime Minister's commitment in writing. Given our experience after the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, we could no longer take the word of the government. We could no longer just rely on promises. The government knew all along, before the signing of the MOU, that we all agreed gratuity was 25%. Our experience is that once the general election was won, they then unilaterally changed the 25% gratuity to 2%. This is after they, by way of letter dated June 13, 2018, had proposed, among other things, that, and I quote, calculation of gratuity is that the formula should be adjusted to allow for the payment of a gratuity of 50% of what is due and the rest to be paid in the form of a monthly payment. End of quotation. In other words, the government was asking the unions and staff associations to accept 12.5% upfront and to discuss the payment of the other 12.5%. After the government tore up the Memorandum of Understanding or changed their minds on the 25% gratuity to 2%, the unions had to turn to industrial actions to fight for our dignity and fight for our bread and butter after retirement. Fight to ensure that government keep their agreement. The government then moved to an injunction application from the court to ban workers from striking. In other words, stop workers from rejoining their labor. Fellow Grenadians, sisters and brothers, comrades all, today, Friday, November 23rd, 2018, we attended a meeting with the government's Pension Engagement Committee, we went there very hopeful, looking to resolve the issue of 25% gratuity, which was agreed during the signing of the Memorandum of Agreement in February 2018, and in keeping with the promise made by the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, to the Conference of Churches and Private Sector Organizations. This meeting was also attended by the Minister for Trade, Honorable Oliver Joseph. At the meeting, the unions and staff associations repeated that our demands for the 25% gratuity with discussions as to how it could be paid. Honorable Joseph said that it was the first time he was hearing that the unions and staff associations were holding fast to 0.25 or 25% or quarter to be used as one of the elements in determining gratuity. This the unions and staff associations found to be very questionable. Everyone in Grenada knows that our demands are exactly 25% or 1/4 or 0.25. Honorable Joseph undertook to discuss the matter with Cabinet on Monday, November 26, 2018, and then to let us know the response. The unions informed that we are looking forward to receiving the information, but will continue with any planned action since we saw this as a further attempt to delay us. Call to heightened industrial actions. Fellow Grenadians, brothers and sisters, comrades all, given what has transpired today, the general public is hereby advised that the unions will continue their industrial actions on Monday and Tuesday of next week. On Wednesday, November 28, 2018, there will be a mass march and rally from the National Stadium to Tantin along the route that was used on Tuesday, November 20th, 2018. The Grenada Technical and Allied Workers Union will write and inform employers in some workplaces represented by the union that some non-critical members, I want to repeat, that some non-critical members will be called upon to join in the march as a show of solidarity. This is in keeping with the resolution passed at Tao's General Council on Thursday, November 22nd, 2018, where workers from Grenada Airports Authority, Grenada Electricity Services, Grenada Ports Authority, Grenada Breweries Limited, National Water and Sewage Authority, Vector Control, and Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, among other workplaces, called upon the union to provide the necessary solidarity and support to the public sector pension and gratuity struggle. And in this context, we shall join the march and rally on Wednesday. Our struggles carried out on a negotiating table or through social media, traditional media, the airwaves or on the streets are all designed to secure the future of our working people. This is for the established and unestablished sector workers. This is for the future of our Imani workers. This is for the future of the so-called contract workers. This is for the future of our nation's children. In closing, I take this opportunity to salute the teachers of our nation for their dedication and commitment to our students. I salute the workers of the public service for their commitment to country. I must especially praise our doctors, nurses, orderlies, cooks and security officers at our health service. I salute our police officers and prison officers and will continue to be an advocate for better conditions for you. I also commend the students who marched on Thursday, November 22nd, 2018, calling for a resolution. We commit to continue working towards a settlement so that they can return to the classrooms. I thank Bishop Clive Harvey for adding his voice and calling us to be guided by truth as the parties work towards a settlement. To you, the members of the general public, thank you very much for your ongoing support and words of encouragement. The march and rally can be avoided if the government of Grenada honors the 25% gratuity that was agreed to in the Memorandum of Understanding. In closing, we repeat, understanding the different challenges that our country faces, we are open and flexible to finding different arrangements to the payment of the 25% gratuity.
All right, that's Senator Andre Lewis. addressing the nation on Friday evening. Rach, you've been sitting here very quietly listening to Senator Lewis. He too is very passionate about this, isn't he?
Yes, Brother Grant. Because you see, he made some critical points there, and you have been hearing me repeating it over and over, that we were very shocked and surprised when the Labor Minister on Friday, the former Labor Minister, Oliver Joseph, on Friday stated that he was not aware. It was the first time that he understood that what we were asking for was really 0.25%, meaning 25%, a quarter. And that was very shocking to us because the whole nation, the world, I may say, is well aware that public service unions are in a struggle with our government to receive 25% gratuity. Our placards show it clearly on the streets on Tuesday. We have stated it clearly in all our posters, all our messages, our announcements to our membership. If you look on Facebook, you would clearly see it. If you listen to the media, you would hear the media stating it. So one wonders, where was the minister? And a very critical point that Brother Andre Lewis made is that we are doing it for the future of our nation's children, for the contract workers, for the Imani workers. These persons are not trainees. They are workers, and they are disadvantaged. They are receive what we call precarious work, because in their situation, they are not able to join a trade union movement. They are not able to associate. So if you ask me, their constitutional rights are being violated, and these are young citizens of our country. And we need to, at some point, stand for them, because we cannot allow our young people to be so disadvantaged. You are calling me a trainee, but I'm not being treated as a trainee. If you hear our government speak about our employment ratio and the numbers under employment, they are being counted as employed. So how can we count them as employed when they are not given the ability to enjoy proper employment, that their rights are not violated? Our contract workers are afraid because on a regular basis they are intimidated. They fear whether or not their contracts would be renewed. Some are there for 10, 15 years, 20 years in some instances on a contract. Is that right? Is that fair? Is that just? And we know what the laws of Grenada says according to our labor code. Section 29.5, and I cannot be tired speaking of Section 29.5. And whenever something happens in the government service, it goes out into the private sector. And we see our private sector adopt the similar approaches of government. So it is not just happening within the public service, Brother Grant, but it is happening within the entire country of Grenada, that persons are being disadvantaged under what we call contract employment. And the government has now brought in a new type of contract that is even worse than what existed before, because these persons have no rights. They do not have the ability to join a trade union movement, because it is what it is called contract for service. So they must pay their own NIS, and they cannot associate, because they are considered to be independent providers, service providers. Is that the kind of thing we are going to do to our young people? Is that what we are going to offer our young people of Grenada? And all in the name of a law that we want to uphold, called a fiscal responsibility law, The persons of the IMF and the international associations do not care for the human being. The human element is not factored into the strategies that they employ. And you, as a government, must think of your people. You must think of the citizen. What is it I really want for my citizens of my country? Do I want them to be dignified persons, men and women, who could really represent their nation properly and be able to enjoy their nation in a free manner as free men and free women? These persons are not free men and free women because they cannot participate. They cannot stand up for their rights. They are afraid to stand for their rights. So what we have adopted within Grenada is a kind of slave labor, actually. And that is not right. It is not good for our people. It is not the humane thing to do. It's not justice. It is not godly. And listen, God is not sleeping. And God allows things to happen. He allows it to happen. But He delivers you. Remember, He delivers the children of Israel. And He just didn't deliver them like that, you know. They went through a lot of pain and suffering before He delivered them. He brought how much plagues on Egypt? 10 plagues on Egypt before He actually delivered them. So we maybe feel that today we can oppress persons, we can treat persons as we want. But no, we can't, because there is a greater being than ourselves. There is somebody who is in charge of us, who is in control. We may feel that we are in control, and He allows us to feel that way. But trust me, He delivers.
You know, Rachel,
He takes us out of bondage.
There's a proverb I've used here on this program so many times. It's a proverb old people say, what they meet you and pass you. You know, you do things and you get away with it for an extended period of time, so you think it's hunky-dory and you just keep on doing things. Eventually it catches up.
And I want to say to the persons who are on contract and that kind of thing, let them know that they have to stand firm for their rights. Those of you who are unionized, stand firm for your rights, because your time is coming. This memorandum that we signed is a two-phase memorandum. It has one aspect for the established workers, and it would have another aspect for the unestablished workers, the contract persons and other persons. Mm-hmm. So we would have to very soon be negotiating for them. So if we don't get something substantial and what is right and just as established officers, think of what would happen to them. Think of what would happen to them. And you know, I can't imagine what the public service would be like in the next few years if we don't stand up to ensure our contract workers are properly appointed. Because you know what is happening here? What I see here is that the Public Service Commission is gradually being undermined and removed, because it's the Public Service Commission that controls all of us as public officers. It disciplines, it appoints. That's what it is there for. It deals with all aspects of leave. And if we do not have a Public Service Commission, if we do not have established officers, there would be no need for a Public Service Commission. And you know what would be happening? Public officers would not have a voice. We'd not be able to stand for the truth. We would not be able to stand for our rights and freedom, because our employer would be able to do with us as he or she wishes. And if the young people of this nation do not recognize this and do not see what is happening and do not support this struggle and this fight in the name of justice and truth and their abilities to stand for their rights and freedom in the future and the safety of the public service, safeguarding the public service, we would be in a very problematic place in the future within our nation. Laws would be violated. Rules of the public service would be no more. I cannot imagine the chaos of public services that would exist. So we have to ensure that all our members and our laws are upheld. Because this law we call FRL is an unjust law, it is an unfair law, and was passed on us in the sneak of the night, and is now the law of all things that controls everything. And what we recognize, there are certain things it doesn't control. If you look at the FRL, it is only for the trade union movement. It is only our issues that is controlled under that law. There is no ceiling for anything else more than ours. Only wages and salaries that have a ceiling of 0.9%, of 9%, sorry. Is that just? Is that fair?
All right, I'll tell you what, Rachel, like I mentioned, we're running out of time. I still have to get the Prime Minister. We have to give him some time to talk about his 2019 budget, okay? So we're going to have to run. But I want to take a little break here, and then when I come back, I want you to take a look forward to the remainder of this week, and let's talk about what's likely to happen. So we'll be back with Rachael Roberts in just a wee bit.
Spread some cheer and show you care with GRENADABROADCAST Give-A-Wish promotion. Do you know someone who has had a challenging year and deserves some good fortune, or a worthy cause that needs extra support? Grant them a wish this holiday season with GRENLEC. Just pay your bill in full, then write their name, address, and phone number on the top portion of your bill. Add your phone number and drop it into the wish box at any of our GRENLEC customer centers, or you can enter online via our Facebook page. 15 customers will receive a $500 electricity voucher for giving a wish to someone who deserves it. And 15 winners will each have their wish granted, valued at up to $1,500. What's more, 230 lucky customers will win $75 electricity vouchers. Spread the cheer this year with GRENLEC's Give-A-Wish promotion. Visit our website or Facebook page for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends December 21st.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate, Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, will give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
With free island-wide delivery, Hubbard's Building Supplies and Lumber Departments continue to provide the best quality lumber, steel, tiles, plumbing materials, electrical, and general hardware supplies at competitive prices. We continually consult with builders, homeowners, and contractors to improve product range and services. Enjoy discounts where applicable, including the use of credit and debit cards. At Hubbard's Building Supplies, Grandance, and Lumber Department, Caranage, we offer quality service, affordable prices, giving you the convenient, reliable, free island-wide delivery. Call 440-2087 for all your home improvement and building solutions.
Alrighty, folks, I'm back with Rachael Roberts, and just before we move along, I want to say hi to those of you out there on the other platforms who are with us. I don't have time this morning because of our time constraints. We're not able to go into all the cities where you folks are listening, but I can go into the countries. First of all, a ton of you here in Grenada, then they're out there in the United States, they're in Canada, they're in Barbados, Switzerland, Guyana, Dominica, Germany, the British Virgin Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, Trinidad and Tobago, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and also Antigua, Barbuda. Thank you so much for joining us, my dear friends. Rachel, we're scooting out of time, girl. We're scooting out of time. But I want you to take a couple minutes here and let's hear some wrap up from you about what's likely to happen this week. In addition to the teachers, who else will be out there this week?
Departments would be at home tomorrow. We would be calculating and contemplating our gratuity of 25% that we have been denied. And I want to make a special appeal to our public officers to please honor the call of your union. What we are fighting for is not just for today, it is for our children, it is for the future of all citizens of Grenada, prospective public officers, persons who would want to enter the public service. Let them be able to have an honorable pension and gratuity when they leave the public service. So the union give you an order, obey the order. You are free men and you are free women. And we would like you to please remain at home. We say to you, listen to what would happen on Wednesday. And when the call comes, if the call has to come, we want all public officers to come out in their numbers and support a mass march and rally wherever it may be held and wherever we may be marching from. If there is need for it, you will definitely know. Brother Grant, we want to bring resolution to this. We want to have this matter resolved as quickly and speedily as possible, because we do not want the disruptions within our country. But if it becomes necessary, we would have to do what we have to do. And if it means calling out as many persons as we can, we want especially the retirees who are home and denied their pension to come out and show how many of you are at home and are not in receipt of a pension nor gratuity. Come out and support this cause, because this is a just cause. And do not sit at home and not come out and show your support to the rally. We want the nation to come out, because we have a brother, you have a sister, you might have a daughter, you might have an uncle, you might have a niece or a nephew or auntie. Everybody in Grenada have somebody in the public service to benefit from this. And your children may end up in the public service.
All right.
So come out and support this cause. We do not know if we may have need for that on Wednesday. We hope we do not. So I hope, Brother Grant, that I can call you sometime within Monday or Tuesday and say to you, we have reached a resolution. And this matter has been resolved. And we are properly seated at the table. And we are just working out certain elements that would move us forward. But our 25% gratuity is safe and secured.
I think that would be music to the ears of the people of this country, and I look forward to getting your call. And hopefully you won't have to go out there in the hot sun on
Hopefully we would not have to
Wednesday.
go out there.
Okay.
We hope that with the intervention of our Almighty Father, that good sense would prevail.
Amen.
And in our hearts would be softened, and we would see the light.
Okay.
And Jesus and the truth would shine forth.
Truth shall set us
free.
Rachael Roberts, who is the president of the Public Workers Union, and let's look forward to that call from her sometime during the week, Monday or Tuesday. Now, this week, the 2019 budget was presented by Finance Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell. And As I mentioned at the top of the program this morning, that presentation went well over 2 hours, and we just do not have time to bring you the whole thing. It should be up on the GIS website, gis.gd, I think it is. And I'm going to play you, it's about a 15-minute piece. It's basically his introduction to the 2019 budget. So here comes Prime Minister Keith Mitchell.
The theme chosen for the 2019 budget is as follows: building resilience, advancing social development, transforming our economy, unquote. This was not, Mr. Speaker, selected arbitrarily. It was a deliberate choice intended to adequately capture the priorities of the government at this time, and in full acknowledgement of the fact that while we experience tremendous upswing in economic activity, we must at the same time strategically position our country to recover from potential setback if they occur. Mr. Speaker, the priorities enshrined in the 2019 budget are framed within the context of the government's wider medium-term agenda, MTA, which articulates the strategic development objectives for the period 2019 to 21. The overall objectives, Mr. Speaker, of the MTA are to anchor medium-term development planning and strategic interventions to promote resilience in all its forms, economic, social, and environmental, and to accelerate inclusive, job-rich growth, as well as to reduce poverty. Mr. Speaker, what this essentially means is that we are not merely seeking economic growth that illustrates positive fiscal balances and declining debt. We are pursuing economic growth that brings real results to the citizens of this country. Economic growth that's not only reflected in the figures recorded by government statisticians and analysts, but is visible in an improved quality of life of all of us, especially those who are most vulnerable. The MTA rests on three strategic pillars or national goals, which are: 1, accelerating sustainable and inclusive economic growth; 2, enhancing social capital and citizens' well-being; 3, promoting resilient governance. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, the budget elaborates on the policies and programs that will be pursued in 2019 that are in line with the MTA and its established developmental outcomes. Details on the MTA 2019 to 2021 can be found in the budget framework paper. Mr. Speaker, this administration is fully committed to dialogue and consultation as a means of obtaining broad consensus on matters of national importance. In this regard, I am pleased to inform this Honorable House that the series of public engagements surrounding the MTA, which preceded this budget's presentation, were tremendously successful in getting buy-in for and promoting ownership of the policies and program articulated in this MTA. All people, Mr. Speaker, must be sufficiently engaged and must willingly accept ownership of planned policies and programs if implementation is to be successful. We are indeed impressed with the depth of knowledge, resourcefulness, and understanding which reside among our people. I have the utmost confidence, therefore, Mr. Speaker, in our collective capacity to advance our nation's progress for the benefit of present and future generations. Mr. Speaker, with this introduction, I want to turn your attention to the economic developments globally, regionally, and locally to provide a context for this budget. global and regional economic developments, global economic performance and prospects. Mr. Speaker, according to the International Monetary Fund most recent World Economic Outlook report released last month, global growth is estimated at 3.7% in 2018 and 2019. These are downward revisions of the forecast done in April 2018, which had estimated global growth of 3.9% for both years. Mr. Speaker, the downward revision is largely based on lower projected growth for most advanced countries, especially the United States in 2019, because of the potential negative impacts of recently announced tariffs. Growth in some emerging markets and developing economies, especially oil exporting ones, has been revised up on account of projected increases in oil prices. Further details on the current global economic performance can be found in Annex 1. Regional and economic performance and prospects. Regionally, Mr. Speaker, average GDP growth in the independent countries of the Caribbean is estimated at 1.1% in 2018, roughly the same as that was in 2017. However, the increase in regional output is projected to pick up speed in 2019, averaging 3%, fueled largely by high growth rates forecasted in Dominica, with a building after Hurricane, Grenada, and Guyana. Closer to home in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, ECCU, the average economic growth of 0.4% is estimated in 2018, a deceleration relative to the average growth rate of 1.75% in 2017. This was largely, Mr. Speaker, influenced by the massive economic decline estimated for Dominica in the wake of Hurricane Maria. However, a pickup is projected in 2019 with an average growth rate of 4.3%. In the non-ECCU countries, the average growth is estimated at 1.6% in 2018 and is projected to edge up to an average of 1.9% in 2019. Annex 1 again provides more details. Domestic economic performance and prospects. Mr. Speaker, Grenada's economy has been on a consistent path of economic expansion since 2013. And it is poised to experience its sixth consecutive year of growth in 2018. Economic growth of 5.2% in real terms is provisionally estimated for this year. This is fueled by expansions in the major sectors, especially construction, tourism, transport, private education, and manufacturing. Mr. Speaker, Grenada remains the fastest growing economy in the region. Averaging real growth of 5.0% since 2013. And growth in 2019 is conservatively estimated, Mr. Speaker, to be about 4.2%. Mr. Speaker, the preliminary results of the 2018 Labor Force Survey indicate that the unemployment rate has fallen by 2.7 percentage points, moving from 23.6% in December 2017 to 20.9% in June 2018, the latest period of which data is available. Mr. Speaker, it is important to point out that the unemployment rate could fall further by year end, aided by government recent addition of another batch of 800 Imani trainees. And additionally, 500 young men are benefiting from the Empower initiative. Another 800 persons have also been employed in the Housing Construction Brigade as environmental wardens and environmental wardens. Fiscal performance. Mr. Speaker, Grenada's fiscal position continues to be strong, with an expected primary surplus after grants of 6.2% of GDP at the end of 2018. compared to 5.7% in 2017. This performance, Mr. Speaker, is backed by continuous reforms in both the Inland Revenue Department and the Customs and Excise Division, as well as government's continuous efforts to reduce its overall expenditure and increase economic activity. By the end of 2018, Mr. Speaker, the following results relative to the approved budget are expected. Current revenue of $747.2 million compared to a target of $710.4. Grants of $102.6 million compared to a target of $148 million. Current expenditure of $594.6 million compared to a target of $607.1 million. Capital expenditure of $118.9 million compared to a target of $171.3 million. The Custom and Excise Division collections are expected to reach $367.8 million compared to a target of $344 million, an overperformance of $23.8 million. Similarly, the Indian Revenue Department is estimated to collect $353.8 million compared to a target of $338 million, an overperformance of $15.8 million. Mr. Speaker, therefore, let me take this opportunity to commend the Revenue Collection Agency for their continued drive to improve compliance. Further details on the 2018 economic performance can be found in Annex 1 of this budget statement. Public debt. Mr. Speaker, public debt as a ratio of GDP has progressively declined in the past 5 years, decreasing from 108% of GDP in 2013 to an estimated 62.7% by the end of 2018. It is projected to be further reduced to 55% of GDP by the end of 2020, surpassing the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank target of 60%, 10 years ahead of the 2030 deadline, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is important for the nation to appreciate the process undertaken to project these debt numbers. The Ministry of Finance conducted a debt sustainable analysis which determined the government's ability to sustain its current debt levels. The analysis was then used to inform the medium-term debt management strategy that is laid before this honorable House. Mr. Speaker, the 2018 budget presentation was therefore historic because for the first time, a debt management strategy was laid in our Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I'm extremely happy to report that all of our debt management activities for the past year were consistent with the medium-term debt management strategy 2018 to 2020. For the details on debt outstanding as of December 31st, 2018, and the medium-term debt management strategy can be found in Annex F of the estimates of revenue and expenditure and the report that's been laid before Parliament. Mr. Speaker, having provided the international, regional, and local context for the 2019 budget, I wish to turn my attention to the estimates of revenue and expenditure. Mr. Speaker, I wish to signal that the 2019 estimates of revenue and expenditure were prepared in accordance with the Fiscal Responsibility Law, FRL. For the first time, we have included for publication the details of our compliance with the fiscal rules and targets, which can be found in Annex 2 of the budget statement. Budget and financing summary. Mr. Speaker, the 2019 estimates of revenue and expenditure provide for the total expenditure, including principal repayments and public debt, of $1,134,013,956, Mr. Speaker. This budget, therefore, is summarized as follows. Recurrent revenue of $780.4 million. Recurrent expenditure of $637.8 million. Current account surplus of $142.7 million. Capital expenditure of $196.4 million. Primary surplus after grants of $201.9 million. Overall surplus after grants of $129.9 million. Principal repayment amortization, $299.8 million. Mr. Speaker, consistent with the theme of this budget presentation, as I expressed earlier,
Okay, there you have it. That's the early going on Thursday, I beg your pardon, when the Prime Minister presented his 2019 budget to Grenadians. Folks, I'm going to take a little break here right now, and then when I come back, I'm going to do two things. One, I'll have the parting word from our Holy Scriptures, and I'm also going to leave you with a personal comment at the end. So hang in there.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
With free island-wide delivery, Hubbard's Building Supplies and Lumber Departments continue to provide the best quality lumber, steel, tiles, plumbing materials, electrical and general hardware supplies at competitive prices. We continually consult with builders, homeowners and contractors to improve product range and services. Enjoy discounts where applicable, including the use of credit and debit cards. At Hubbard's Building Supplies, Grandance and Lumber Department, Caranage, we offer quality service, affordable prices, giving you the convenient, reliable, free island-wide delivery. Call 440-2087 for all your home improvement and building solutions.
Okay, my dear friends, time to pull the curtain down. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Before I go, I do want to make a personal comment. For the last little while, you've heard from Prime Minister Mitchell about what he hopes the 2019 budget, will accomplish. He's also told you what he's going to spend in various areas. And you also heard about some of the accomplishments of this beautiful little country of ours. My prayer as I leave you, my dear friends, is that God's will be done in this impasse between the unions, the public officers, and the government of Grenada. For the good of this nation, Father, may thy will be done. And please, give us the faith to accept that whatever happens, we don't know what's going to happen this week, but whatever happens, give us the faith to accept that your will is being done. Parting word from the Holy Scriptures comes to you from Isaiah 54, verse 17, which says, "No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and this is their vindication from me, declares the Lord." Pilgrims, join me tomorrow morning for the next edition of Good Day Grenada, and every weekday morning. I noticed that only about 23 minutes of today's program went up to Facebook this morning, which can only be described as another major disaster. This too will be resolved. It's not in my hands. It's in God's hands. It's in God's hands. And He will work it out. Okay? So weekday mornings, 9 o'clock, Good Day Grenada. Fun program, informative, entertaining. We hope you'll join us. And again on Thursday evening for the next edition of McWee Chat. George Grant sending God's blessings your way. Enjoy what's left of your weekend.